What's up YouTube, Capital G here, looking at a brand new trap coming out of Circuit Break. This is Blasting Wire, and this is pretty interesting. I think that this card, or at least cards similar to it, were very predictable. I think that when we first kind of learned about the Link Summon a couple of months ago, a lot of people looked at how card placement was actually going to matter in the game for the first time ever, and they looked at the cards from CIBR Impact, the blasting fuses and stuff like that, and they thought, okay, maybe these cards can have some applications. And to me, it was kind of obvious that Konami would try at least to print some more cards like this, and it looks like that is what they're finally doing. If the artwork on Blasting Wire looks familiar, it's because you're probably thinking of this card right here, Blasting Fuse from CIBR Impact. It's the same monster. It's still, you know, Cannon Soldier, and he's all, I guess, tangled up in this card. I don't know what's happening in this card art, but he seems like he's confused because he's got the question marks and whatnot. And it is kind of cool because those cards from CIBR Impact were never even like remotely playable. I'm not even talking about like a bad archetype that was just really bad out the gate. I'm talking about those cards were like not even, they didn't even function like properly. So it is cool that we will get some new cards, and hopefully these will be a lot better and more practical than the ones of the past, because those cards are like 12 years old and they never saw any play. So let's see what Blasting Wire actually does. It's a very basic card. It's a normal trap. It says activate this face down card by targeting one card in this card's column, destroy it. So I think I understand what Konami was going for with the design of Blasting Wire. It seems like they wanted a very practical and easy to activate piece of disruption that obviously had to do with, you know, like the column placement and whatnot. The thing is, I'm not sure how impactful this card is really going to be, because I think at best it's like a better version of Regeki Break. Obviously you can hit your opponent's monsters and their back row, and it doesn't matter if they're face up, face down. If you're really desperate, I guess you could hit your own monsters with this. If you had something like a Baboon that you just desperately needed the trigger, I mean, I guess if you really were in a bind and you needed to get that monster dead for some reason, that could definitely work. But the thing is, since it is a column based card, it's already going to be like really situational to begin with, because think about it, this card would be probably mediocre in the early game. If you go first and you set it, your opponent might set a couple of cards and they might not use that column, then it's kind of dead and you're sitting around waiting for them to put it in the column. I think it would have been better, or it would have had a lot more potential if it would have been continuous. If it would have been continuous, this card would have been excellent. And not only would it usually probably be like a +1 where, you know, in phase you flip this over, you end up getting a card out of your opponent's back row, but then there would have been kind of a mind game where it's like you're kind of locking your opponent out of using their spell and trap zone, and if they're playing a pendulum deck, as those have been moved to spell and trap zones, that could have been really impactful. So I don't know, man. Or maybe if it would have just blown up all the cards in the column. Some people say, you know, maybe that would have been too strong, but at best it would have been like, I don't know, a +1 or something like that. If you flip this over and blow up a monster on your opponent's side of the field, plus one of their back rows, like, it wouldn't have been all that broken. I mean, I still think it would have been hella situational anyway. So ultimately, what do you guys think? I think if Konami actually wants column support to be taken seriously, and maybe players to even think about playing them competitively, they're just going to have to make them a lot more powerful. If it would have been continuous, then, you know, it could have been maybe akin to something like Unending Nightmare, because it would have been able to actually hit monsters as well, face up and face down, and that would have been something nice that Unending Nightmare couldn't have done. So ultimately, this card is just kind of niche, and I do think Konami is going to give us more support, because column placement is just going to be very important over the next 3 years of the Vrains era. So anyways, let me know what you guys think. Thank you for watching as always, and subscribe if you have not already.